Welcome to the Blitz Crosstalk. I'm Brianna Dix, joined by G-Bag Nation co-host and former NFL scout Brian Broaddus. Brian, thank you for joining me on this chilly Thursday morning.
It's football season. It's about chilly. You know what, though? You're right. No, you're right, Bree. It's the calendar changes, and in the personnel guys' minds and the guys downstairs here at the Star, a lot of things about to happen in the month of November. You're going to play like 4 games like really fast in a condensed schedule. So when the calendar changes, things kind of ramp up. And for this football team, though, it's been so far so good. What they dealt with last week in Minnesota was super impressive with Cooper Rush playing. Dak Prescott we'll see this week.
Yes.
You've been all over the story all week about Dak, whether he practices or not. And as we get through this week, we'll see. And, for them to get through that game last week without having to use him and to win that game, that says a lot about this football team.
Yes, so I'm glad you mentioned the Vikings.
Did I just take your job?
Yes, no. You were
I've been
good.
known to do that before. So go ahead.
It's all good. But before we hit on the Broncos, I did want to touch on the defense.
Yeah.
Played phenomenal against the Vikings,
Sure
held
did.
them 278 yards,
Right.
dominant on third down.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I loved is that this team has played the most man coverage all season in the NFC. They predominantly played zones against the Vikings, didn't blitz a whole lot, so you might not have as many takeaways, but you limit the big play risk.
Yeah.
So what did you think worked from that approach and how Quinn changed up his game plan in facing Minnesota?
I love it when you talk these X and O things. I wish you would teach me some of these X and O things.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, I think with Dan Quinn, the one thing that's been really consistent with Dan Quinn so far is that, you look at what his history was and how they used to play zone coverage, and you have tall guys and rangy guys, and, you sit back in that, that cover 3 look, and you just kind of, you play thirds of the field, and, whatever happens, you react and you tackle well and all that. Dan Quinn really, and you've been on this before because you've interviewed Dan a bunch and talked to him about it. He really went and remade himself.
Yeah.
He really sat down and looked and said, what are the trends? What am I going to have to face? These teams that are throwing the ball so much, the 11 personnel stuff. He goes, how am I going to match up? And I don't know if initially this season if Dan Quinn thought he had true man players. I think he was like, listen, I'm going to see what I got here. I think I know what I want to do. But, he had such a big hand in going out. And, you had guys that were here with Diggs and Brown and Lewis, his primary starters. But he's gone out and tried to add some pieces, whether it's the safety position, the linebacker position. He's had a hand in that. But, yeah, the whole thing with the man coverage stuff, he's actually playing to the strengths of Diggs and Brown and Lewis and guys like that. Diggs is a guy, when you watched him at Alabama, when he played off and had to drive on the ball, they'd catch the ball in front of him. But you let him get up on a guy, physically jam, turn, and run, he was okay with that. And the same thing with Anthony Brown, and same thing with Jordan Lewis. So I give Dan Quinn a ton of credit for readjusting himself and his priorities of how he wanted to call defense, and then adjusting the scheme to actually help his players. They're getting really good pass rush too, Bree. And I think that's really helped a lot too, that the fact that they can affect the pocket, which helps the back end on the coverage. Have they given up some yards? Yes, they've given up some yards. Have they given up some big plays? Some. Not as many as you saw last year. So, that's going to happen. You're going to give up plays in this league. These receivers and quarterbacks are too good. But Dan Quinn and the defense has done a really good job of kind of putting everything together and really making it work here through 7 games.
Right. Well, and maximizing the play of rookies, Osa Okwuegbunam, Michael Parsons. And like you've said, not all rookies come ready to play when the season begins. Osa, you didn't even. Osa, before Neville Gallimore's injury, didn't even think he would even be a prominent role now, immediate impact player.
Right.
But I wanted to touch on Micah for a second. Played phenomenal. Mike McCarthy said it was his best game as a Cowboy. He himself said he had the most minimal errors in that game. What to you is more impressive about him? Is it him handling the workload, or would you say it was his effectiveness in the off-the-ball coverage, because you didn't see a lot of that on tape at Penn State?
Yeah, you covered the full gambit of things. When you watched him play at Penn State, and remember, he was a year removed because of the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of kids that we were,
2020 opt out.
yeah, all those 2021 draft kids that we were watching, there were several of them that just did not play. And now you're going back and watching 2020 tape, and you're honestly hoping for the best. You really are. You're just kind of like
Hold your breath.
well, yeah, you're just kind of like holding my breath. Well, this is what he looked like. There were kids that were, they're 20-year-old kids, that 19-year-old kids, and you're now projecting them to play in the National Football League. And the thing with Micah Parsons, I think, has been that we did not see on Penn State tape.
Yeah.
We didn't see his ability to really cover. We didn't see his ability to blitz. But we saw the finish. We saw the physicality. We saw the ability to play downhill and tackle. And when you and I watch these games, and when the ball goes into his area, there's been a couple of guys that have really tackled well in this team. I think Jaron Kearse has tackled really, really well in this team, and I think that Parsons has tackled really well. And I'm talking about the physicality. The ball's there, he's running, boom, hit, down. No broken tackle, no anything else. So to me, that's the things that you saw that on Penn State tape. But all the things that you mentioned, I think this is where that Dan Quinn, again, he has visions for these players. He has visions for what they can do. He's like, listen, I don't have a defensive end. I don't have a rush guy. But I bet you Micah Parsons can rush the passer. What does he do? He puts Micah Parsons in there. And like you reported yesterday, I believe so, you were talking about that Dan Quinn was working with Micah Parsons before practice on pass rush stuff, techniques, the rip, swim, swat, pull, all those things that pass rushers. And it might really be a factor this week because, we get into when the Denver Broncos, they're struggling to tackle right now. They're struggling to protect. And so, that's where maybe this is where we saw Micah Parsons play against their traditional defense, against the traditional offense with the Minnesota Vikings with a fullback. And that's his kind of game. Fullback, tough, beat all that. This is probably going to be a little bit more of an open game. And so now this is when you use Micah Parsons as a rusher. So I kind of feel like that whatever he morphs into whatever they need him to do.
Yeah, it's that Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that was one of the things that was so impressive is
what is impressive to you when you watch him play? When you watch him play, what do you think?
For me, I think it's the instinctual play, especially for a rookie. You think coming into Penn State, he transitioned from defensive end. You didn't even have a large sample size of him at linebacker. Yeah. Comes in, rookie, all of the things they're asking him to do, all the positions he's lining up. And just, the way that he's seeing the play breaks down.
Yeah.
He doesn't get, misdirected by a fly sweep to Cook and he's chasing down and tackling him from behind for a loss, or shutting down their screen game by immediately getting to Conklin or whatever the case was. It's just so impressive.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. And, as, he's running to the play and pushing Leighton Vander Esch out of the way as Leighton is like, oh, wait, what? Oh, and then Vander Esch is trying to react.
Yeah.
Now Parsons is like, man, you're slow, let's go, that kind of thing. That's where, that's for a rookie to see plays develop. And we've had that here before. We've seen Sean Lee, Dat Wynn. This team has had a history of linebackers that react very quickly and are able to finish. And I think Micah Parsons fits in perfect to the guys like I was talking about, Dat Wynn, Sean Lee, guys that see, finish, and make plays.
Yes, could not agree more. So looking ahead
Thank you for agreeing. I appreciate that.
Yeah, problem.
Sometimes it'll get you in trouble. Don't do that all the time.
But looking ahead to the Broncos, let's dig into, I know this offensive line has been a main storyline this week.
Offensive tackle, over the Cowboys, offensive line,
Potentially not going to have likely Tyron Smith this week dealing with the bone spur in his ankle. Yeah. So what do you think the starting five will be on Sunday for this offensive line?
That's a great question. I think that the what you're talking about with the ankle with Tyron Smith is legit. And talking to people in the organization, it's going to be about rest. This is not going to be about, when we talk about bone spurs, high ankle sprains, another word that I heard is mentioned as well, and something that's just reoccurring that he's having to deal with. And I've been told it's like rest. He needs rest. And, so with that being said, what happens? Do you want to move? You're 6-0 with Terrence Steele playing right tackle.
Yes.
He obviously in the preseason got work at both sides, but he's comfortable playing the right tackle. And when you put him over there, you also have an all-pro next to him and Zach Martin that if something happens, Zach Martin can kind of pick up the pieces for you over there. And now if you put him at left tackle and put Lyle Collins at right tackle, Connor Williams has had his own issues over there. And so now, are you making it more difficult that Terrence Steele could be successful on the right side. The question is, do you think he could be successful on the left side if something happens? And then what if he struggles and then you have him and Connor Williams both struggling on that side? That's the
blitz all day long from that side.
The rush will come from over there.
Yeah.
That's the question I have, Bree. That's the question I have. I try and play Lyle Collins. It's likely going to be Ty and Sicky for the week to start, and then they'll work Collins in as they need to see fit. But man, I would be shocked. I would be shocked if they moved Terrence Steele to left tackle. But then again, Lyle Collins, he played left tackle at LSU.
Exactly.
He hasn't played left tackles in the league at any time. So are you asking him to do something? Is he a better athlete? Is Steele the better athlete to play left tackle? And is Collins kind of set in his ways at right tackle? That's the question you have to ask. Do you have that? The confidence that we will see how much confidence they really have in Terrence Steele. If they move Terrence Steele, they think that Terrence Steele can play any tackle position and be fine. Me personally, I kind of feel like that him playing on that right side has been really beneficial to him because he knows inside he's got an all-pro guy to clean up the mess if something happens.
No, I think the exact same. I think you've got to leave Steele
where
he's having success.
Yeah.
And then, in Lyle Collins even told us the left side is actually more of his natural side. That's
right.
where he played at LSU, but the right was something that he had to learn.
Right. Well, you got
Put him over there next to Connor Williams, like Zach Martin does for Terrence Steele.
Right.
He's going to help Connor Williams over on the other side.
Right.
And I don't think there's any question that you can say that Ty and Secchi is a better player than Pro Bowl in Lyle Collins.
Well, then last week I kind of felt like, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm one of these guys on our show that was screaming like, Zach Martin has got to play right tackle. Screaming it. I'm sorry. I'm here at the Star. Yeah. I'm yelling upstairs at Jerry. Hey, play Lyle Collins. Switch him. But to me, this is, they've proven me wrong. They've proven me wrong that, and Terrence Steele, 14 game experience, they told us that, no, he's first in, last out. He wants to get better. He wants to get coached. It was honestly shocking to me, Bree, that when Collins became available, that it wasn't immediately a plug and play situation. It was, no, we're going to play with Terrence Steele at right tackle, and if something happens to him, Lyle Collins, you're going to go into the game. That was it. And then when something happened with Smith, well, now the thing that's good for the Cowboys is that Tyron Smith is struggling right now, so you're going to get him rest. What you have to know is it's giving you time. It's not like that we got the Tyron Smith back injury on a Friday where they couldn't get somebody ready to play. You're at least going to have the opportunity to get Sicky ready, get Steele ready, get Collins ready. That you're going to have a whole week of practice, so it's not going to be a surprise. But man, I tell you what, it is surprising that maybe there's something more to the Lyle Collins thing. Maybe there's more to like, listen, you didn't do what we asked you to do. You kind of drug us through the mud a little bit on trying to mess with the league. The league told you if you'd have done this, you'd have been just fine, and you didn't do it. Might be some of that going on too.
Well, if Lyle Collins does start at left tackle on Sunday, mid-season, what are some of the challenges of switching sides?
Who do you think is going to start?
I think, to me, I don't see how you go anywhere from Steele at right tackle and Lyle Collins at left tackle. That's the only 5 guys that I see.
Do you feel really confident? Do you feel confident about that?
I don't see how you can. Sure, I guess you can make the argument to switch Steele to left tackle and have Lyle Collins at right. But I feel like this staff has always been the people that wants to make as minimal of moves as possible. Yeah. So you leave Steele at right and you bring in Lyle Collins. Now, like you said, this might be some sort of punishment or saying, hey, this is what happened. But from my viewpoint, that's really
Every
the only
time I
five
think
guys
I've
you
got
should
this
have there.
handled, every time I think I handle, not the case at all.
Yeah.
Not the case.
No, I definitely.
Mid-season adjustments you were asking about, or mid-season Lyle Collins? What were you going with that before I rudely interrupted
What?
you?
Oh no, you were good. What are some of the challenges? What are the differences between,
yeah.
say, starting at right
tackle
tackle
and
versus left? What are the differences there?
Your right and your left eye.
Okay.
Your right and your left eye. When you look at the tackle spot, yeah, it's okay. Your footwork's different. How you get away from the line. Like when you're a right tackle, you keep your right foot back, left foot front. And you can play out of what we call a 2-point stance where you're standing up, not hand down. And as you kick, you're so used to kicking to get. Tackles are responsible for the width of the pocket. The guards and centers are responsible for the depth of the pocket. So when you're talking about offensive line play, the tackles are responsible to try and get as wide as they can to keep their man as wide as they can. So again, it's when you play on the right side, it's left up, right back, kick, kick, kick. When you play on the other side, it's right up, left back, kick, kick, kick. And its hand placement's different too. Maybe a guy is a dominant hand. Maybe he's a left-hand puncher, right-hand puncher. You get guys like Tyron Smith who predominantly you've seen him just wear people out. He could stab with his left and then he devastates with his right. So, that's kind of where, with Lyle Collins, him having to play over on the other side or Terrence Steele having to play over on the other side, in their mind, they have to flip. And Terrence Steele in his mind has to flip what's going on. Sometimes he's the front side of plays, certain numbers. And then if he plays on the other side, then that flips. He becomes, instead of being the front side player, he becomes the backside player. So all of a sudden he's conditioned like, okay, I hear this huddle call. Oh wait, I'm not a right tackle anymore. I'm a left tackle. So I'm a scoop guy, a reach guy, and not a point guy. And so there's all kinds of things. Your eyes, your hands, your feet, your mind, and you have to he's going to have to think. Whoever plays over there is going to have to think in reverse of what they normally
When it has
think.
to be instantaneous. I mean, immediately.
No time. I mean, he's going to hear a call like he's going to hear Dak identify the Mike linebacker. He's going to hear Biotish say something for the protection. And whatever side he's on, he's thinking like, okay, on that side, I have to do this. Okay, great. So he's going to Biotish is going to make a protection call. Connor Williams or Martin is going to relay the call down, and then now they react. And it's all in a split second. I mean, it happens so fast. So guys like Terrence Steele is going to have to play, if he plays left side, he's going to have to play in reverse because calls on that side are different than calls on the other side. So, and vice versa, depending on which way the plays go.
When so much
a lot going on.
When so much of this offensive line dictates how this offense goes. They've done extremely well in run blocking. But what do you think the Broncos, now this is an offense that you can't contain all the weapons. You just hope to slow them down. And like the Vikings, okay, we're going to stack the box. Well, you know what? We can beat you with the backup quarterback. Both Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb had over 100 receiving yards. What do you think the Broncos are going to try to do to slow down the Cowboys offense this week?
Well, I think that they're Ronald Darby has been playing as one of the corners. They've been banged up at a little bit of a corner spot. They've had some questions at cornerback that they've had to deal with. Patrick Surtain, to me, looks every bit of why the Cowboys were considering him. Him and J.C. Horn from South Carolina that ended up going to Carolina. Those were two. Either one of those picks would have been outstanding to go along with the pick of Parsons. So that group of defenders that all went right there, I think are all going to be outstanding players one day. Surtain plays predominantly the left cornerback spot like he did at Alabama. So you watch him play, he doesn't travel. So what you could do is you could set formation away from him. You can maybe go at Ronald Darby a little bit more in this football game. You could kind of dictate things to say, okay, we're going to attack. The biggest problem the Broncos have is they just don't have a pass rush. They just don't. And that's when you trade Von Miller, when you lose Chubb, as a rusher and stuff like that. I mean, he's on IR. They're struggling. I think their best players are probably inside at the defensive tackle spot. You're going to get two heavy guys down, and everybody else stands up, and that's how they rush the passer. And I think they're going to have to blitz. But what happens when you blitz Dak Prescott? The ball goes down the field, they make plays. I think the Cowboys are good enough to protect. I really, really do. And so, to me, if you're the Broncos, you're kind of in no man's land. You got to kind of hope for the best. You got to hope for mistakes. You got to hope that maybe somehow you get a rush home. Somebody busts, somebody gets a holding call like a Connor Williams, or somebody gets holding, Biotish, and then it sets you back to where maybe you can get off the field because it was 2nd and 20 or something like that. So, yeah, I think the Broncos are for some trouble. They just, again, the pass rush, the questions at corner. Simmons, the safety, though, is really a good player. And so if you make a mistake with the ball, throwing the ball down the middle, we saw what happened with Cooper Rush, throwing the ball down the middle. They had an interception, stuff like that. Overthrows, stuff underneath. You got to be careful. Justin Simmons is a really, really good player. And when he back there, he can he plays sideline to sideline. So, those are the guys you kind of have to be very mindful of when you play against Denver's defense.
Well, you mentioned Connor Williams with the holding penalty. Now, yesterday, Mike McCarthy was saying they have to do a better job at staying disciplined, finishing plays. You've had Connor Williams with holdings. You had, all those suspects. You had several unnecessary roughness on Randy Gregory. You had the defensive offsides on Bradley and I on the punt. How much of a concern is penalties for this team right now?
You know what? It's really funny you say that, Bree, but because what would happen in that New England game? 2nd and 20 or 1st and 20, gain of 20 to Noah Brown for a first down. 3rd and 25, they get 24 yards to get into field goal range. It's crazy how this team is able to overcome some of the mistakes. In past, you get a holding penalty here, it was devastating for this offense. They could not recover. But this team has. Now, do you want to do that? Do you want to continue to be the most penalized team in the NFL? No, absolutely not. Because one day that's going to catch up with you.
Yep.
One day you're going to get that 47-yard pass to the newly activated Michael Gallup, and it's going to come back because Connor Williams has got a chokehold on, Shelby Harris, inside. You can't have that. You just can't have that. And they know that. And, that's something McCarthy talks about. The penalties, he talks about turnovers. There's so many good things that this team is doing. The penalties is one of the bad things this team is doing.
Yeah, can't bite yourself in the foot.
Nope.
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 Well, Brian, thank you so much for joining me today.
And Are you liking penalties?
No.
No, I didn't think you did.
No. It's waste plays, you stalls favorable drives, get you in 2nd and long situations, 3rd and long situations, can't win football games.
Smart, You can close this thing out now if you want. I just had to let you just get your thought on penalties. You might like penalties. You might like penalties.
No.
You might like them to be 3rd and 25 and get 27 yards, right?
Oh my God, no. Now if the quarterback was going to get us out of that situation, I would trust Dak Prescott, but
and any one of those receivers.
Yeah, right.
For sure.
Well, for more Dallas Cowboys updates, check out D210.tv and stay tuned next week for more of the Blitz Crosstalk.